City News on TV Rotorua is proudly brought to you by Rotorua Central.
Kia ora, tonight on City News. Extreme fire risks are in place as the hot, dry weather continues. The local real estate market is booming and the giant toy Enduro is a record-breaking sellout. Rotorua Lakes Council suspended rural fire permits last week as fire risks reached extreme levels. The current hot, dry weather and little rain has caused dry conditions to worsen.
Things are obviously drying out at the moment and have been for the last good month or so, which then means that the ability for fire to start is a lot easier and also spread rapidly. So locally we're getting right up there in regards to fire danger.
The weather forecast looks like we might get some much needed rain to ease the dry conditions. We'll have more on that in tonight's weather. The local real estate market is looking positive and steady, with the volume of residential sales increasing.
Since late September, October, there has been a spike in activity, so volumes have stabilised and we've seen that right through until today.
The need for residential rentals is also on the rise, with a number of property managers reporting a shortage in rental properties.
So, as I said, there's a demand for family homes in good areas, near good schooling, those sorts of things, facilities. So there is a shortage of that property in the market.
Okay. As schools start to go back tomorrow, thousands of teenagers across the region are preparing for tertiary education after recently receiving their NCEA results, with Bay of Plenty Polytechnic reporting that they have already seen a rise in enrolments. From last semester, Waiariki Institute of Technology's hospitality course has seen an increase in domestic students.
Last year we had more domestics than we had international students, so that was very interesting.
And for those secondary students who didn't quite get the results they were hoping for, the Certificate in Foundation Studies is designed to pathway students directly into a degree or diploma of their choice. Studied over 17 weeks, the course ensures that students are ready to catch up to their peers in semester 2. In sport tonight, it was a record sellout and stacked registration for the giant tour Enduro, with the event selling out in under 3 minutes. The event secured a new Enduro World Series registration record last week, with a rich field of New Zealanders and internationally based amateurs set to join the professional riders for race day this March. The Tour Enduro Rotorua marks the opening race for the Enduro World Series and will be one of 5 competitive events at the inaugural Crankworks Rotorua.
It carries a title with it, and that's the round 1 of the Enduro World Series, so all of those Enduro riders will be competing for points in one of 8 events around the world next year. The Enduro World Series is, well, it's only been around a short time, and it's the 4th biggest mountain bike event in the world, and it falls within the biggest, which is Crankworks. So it's going to be a big time in Rotorua next March.
To your weather update now. After a warm few days, it looks like we might see some much needed rain this week, with showers starting midweek and developing to rain towards the end of the week. But for tonight, it will be fine with light winds and an overnight low of 12. Tomorrow, Tuesday, partly cloudy with light winds, a high of 26 and a low of 14. And looking out to Wednesday, showers with light winds, a high of 26 and a low of 14. Remember, for program listings or to watch City News again, you can visit our website, tvrotorua.co.nz, and you can see updates on our TV Rotorua Facebook page. Coming up on City News, we catch up with Rotorua MP Todd McClay, and we have a 2-part interview with Rotorua Lakes District Councillor Karen Hunt.
Well, I guess as we have a catch-up with our MP, Todd McClay, most of you watching will be either back at work or gearing up to go back to work. So we're taking things very casually today, including me. I've been back a week and you've just been sort of back much the same. Did you have a break?
Wayne, I did certainly. Nadine and the kids and I spent most of our time around Rotorua. Why would you go somewhere else when the weather is as stunning as this is? Nadine and I, we celebrated our 20th wedding anniversary over the holidays,
nice.
so had people come to visit us, but we also got a couple of days, a week or so over at Pukahina at the beach, so feeling quite relaxed and almost ready to get stuck in again.
One of the things about coming back to work, and I guess a lot of people watching again can identify with it, is you don't just go straight back in full on. You've got to take it gradually, because otherwise it gets a bit too traumatic, doesn't it, I think?
Well,
for most people anyway.
So, I mean, I'm lucky, blessed to have really good staff. So, things always come up during the holiday period. Although we close the offices, everyone needs a bit of a break from politics. We get emails and calls. So we've dealt with some issues on behalf of people that have had some urgency. But Parliament also doesn't come back until early February. So last week I was in Wellington, this week in the office for a couple of days, a visit to Auckland. It will build up and I guess we'll be stuck into the year before you know it. I think being an MP is very, the way you treat things is similar to other people. Good to have a break, got to get back to work. Starting to get the kids ready to think about school, and we'll be into the year before we know it.
Absolutely. Now, one of the things with regard to looking at last year, heavily political, we had the election and so on, it's all behind us now, so if it's at all possible in a visionary sense, what do you want to see happen for 2015? I guess from your point of view it'll be a balance of the local side of things and your new portfolios as well.
Well, so becoming a cabinet minister certainly creates an increased workload and extra responsibility, but first and foremost my obligation is to the Rotorua electorate and the people of the Rotorua electorate, so that's very important to me. We've made some pretty good progress over the last year or two in a number of areas around lakes water quality. We're starting to see some really positive signs in the local economy, benefit numbers coming down. There's been some really good work done around vulnerable children and children's health and so on. So this year will be very much focusing on that. Look, I led a campaign last year to be re-elected to continue to work hard for the Rotorua electorate, as John Key and the national government did for all of New Zealand. So it's not a matter of saying, let's forget what we've done in the past and find everything new to do. It's actually continuing the progress of working hard, working with our council. I do think, though, that this year will be a lot about the economy and a lot about investment and jobs. And, it's really worthwhile putting extra effort in that space.
And your trade aspect is something I guess you're going to be focusing on a fair bit. I noticed even in the news this morning that Prime Minister John Key's heavily involved overseas with David Cameron and other heavily involved meetings, but also Tim Grosser, who you know very well, obviously, Minister of Trade and so on. He's over there as well. Is it still going to be a year, even for yourself, of making connections and keeping the profile of who we are as a country out there?
Yeah, there's probably two parts to trade. So one of the extra responsibilities I received from the Prime Minister was Associate Minister of Trade and also Associate Foreign Affairs. Trade has two components to it. Going out and negotiating really good preferential agreements for access for high quality New Zealand products and New Zealand people and their skills to parts of the world, and often preferences that other countries don't have, so that they find it more difficult to compete against us than the other way around.
Capitalising on our uniqueness, I guess.
So look, absolutely. And then the other part of that is around trade promotion, helping companies to go out and take up these opportunities. So one of the delegations I've received, the areas Tim Gross has asked me to work in, is around trade promotion, and in probably early February I'm to lead a small group of business people around food production to the Middle East, because there's a very large food show on there, and so I'll have opportunities during the course of this year to do much more in those areas. I'm going to rely upon some of the experience I have over the last 6 years as local MP. It's one thing to sign and announce a really big trade agreement. It sounds great, but unless we can make local companies look towards those agreements and understand them and make the most of them, then it won't deliver jobs into our local economies.
And that's part of putting legs on it, isn't it? Basically,
exactly.
Making it happen.
Yeah, so we don't go to negotiate these agreements so people say you're great trade negotiators. We do it for the good of the local economy or the New Zealand economy. And as an economy grows, it means only one thing, jobs. And I want to see more jobs in Rotorua and the Bay of Plenty and all other parts of New Zealand, provincial New Zealand, urban New Zealand. And some of that story is going to be around trade promotion. So, we've got a really good team of people around the country and around the world who represent New Zealand. It's about plugging businesses, large and small, into that network so that they can send some of the great things they produce here overseas and we can employ more people.
Well, we look forward to that and look forward to our regular chats with you and see how it all goes. And next time both of us will be probably in a shirt and tie.
That's right. I've found the shirt and the tie. I've sent the suit off to the dry cleaners. It'll be time to put it on again soon.
Gosh, I feel totally undressed already. But anyway, thanks for your time and we look forward to a really prosperous year.
Wayne, a pleasure.
Thank you for joining us, Rotorua, and it is a beautiful day down here at the Rotorua City Focus. With me, I'm joined by Karen Hunt, whom is the Inner City Revitalisation Portfolio Lead. Thank you so much for joining us, Karen.
Nice to be here, Melanie.
Karen, can you please, look, we've just bloomed into 2015. Can you please give us a rundown of 2014 and what it was like for the people you worked with, for your team, and the things you accomplished over the year?
It was a hugely exciting time. First of all, we stopped doing things as we had always done them, and we started out with a blank page. We did our Rotorua 2030 visions, and cornerstone was the inner city revitalisation. It had been an issue that everyone had said we have to do something about. So I was fortunate to get that portfolio, and we hit the ground running. So that's been over a year, and we hit the ground running because we had community support from Mike Steiner and Ron Finn in the Inner City Focus Group.
Yeah. Can you just background your responsibilities for us, please?
My responsibilities are to be the council liaison for the community's wishes. It's simply. So in past times, council did things to the community. That was the perception. So what we're trying to do is do things that the community initiate, that they stimulate, they ask for, and that we can support. A couple of examples have been raising the bar, which I attend those meetings and I'm a key part of that. The Tulip Festival was a community initiative. The Lighting Festival was a community initiative. So they've come out, and my role is to support and link those and work in a way that council can to facilitate that.
Now, also a lot of things that come through from the community would have come through the Ideas Shop. Yes. Did you get some gems from that?
We got an enormous number of great ideas from that. We're sifting those, and we're going to look at which portfolio they fit in. A large number do fit in the inner city revitalisation. What I think was key is that the similarity of desires for people. There were some key themes coming through. Water fountains would be one. Other people suggested having cell phone charging in our new seats, a USB port because it's solar, possibly a cycle Sunday, so the whole city is closed, or Tutanakai for anyone on wheels. So great ideas coming through, and the fact that we had 1,400 people come in. And people came in again and again, and they took cards out, they gave them to their friends. So we feel that we have really touched the heart of our residents.
Lovely, and it sounds like that you had some really brilliant and bright ideas coming through. So with the Inner City Focus Group, what have you been working on?
We're now looking at what the plan is for this year. We decided that the major drive has been the Green Corridor and looking at significant artworks along that, as well as, again, linkages with Kura Park, government gardens, those sorts of things, and working where we want our restrooms, and the things that factor in to make the city a more attractive place to come to. So we're about to kick off with the Inner City Focus Group. There's a meeting scheduled for next week to program what the community want, and a lot of that will come out of the ideas. So we'll, as I said, distill those ideas, the 1400. We'll have a steering group that will work out which ones are just do-its, which we can do now, which ones will fit into this year's plans or next year's, and then we'll put some muscle behind getting that actioned.
Absolutely. Have you found more foot traffic through the city?
We have, and not only more foot traffic, more skateboarders, more mobility scooters, generally more people just finding that it's a nice place to be. So they're coming in to shop, they're coming in to eat, but they're coming in to be in the environment because the environment feels safe. And that's the catch-22. The more people we have, the safer it is. The safer it is, the more people we have. And the more we can create for people to come and view, like artworks, like information, like the gardens, then that stimulates the economic development that we're so keen to support.
Now I understand that you take a very economical, healthy and eco-friendly approach to coming to work. How do you get to work in the mornings, Karen?
Well, currently the last 2 weeks I have been on my bike. I've repurposed an old mountain bike with a basket, which I have here.
Very nice.
So, and that allows me to, like I did this morning, I attended a breakfast meeting. I've since been to council to drop off some work for liquor licensing, which I'm also part of. And obviously the weather's been a key part of that, but I only live 4k from town. So I have found getting out and about much easier. And what has surprised me, I am a cyclist, but what has surprised me is I have bumped into 3 professional people I know who are not cyclists. And they're all biking to work at the moment. So there has been a paradigm shift with those who think, actually, I live close enough. Yeah, that's right. I'm going to do it.
So stay right there, Rotorua. We'll be back just after the break to continue our Green Corridor trek with Karen Hunt. Rotorua, we are out and about today with Councillor Karen Hunt, whom is the Inner City Revitalisation Portfolio Lead for our beautiful city. The reason why we're walking around this town of ours is because up and coming for 2015 is a new project. Karen, can you please tell us about the Green Corridor?
I'd be delighted to, Mel. Essentially, a green corridor links 2 green spaces at its simplest. And the 2 green spaces we're linking are Kura Park and Government Gardens, both iconic destinations in their own right. And why we're linking them is that we have a number of cycle routes that come to the edge of our city. But we have no way for those people to safely get into, across or through the city. And that's what the Green Corridor is all about.
Okay, let's move on, Karen. Let's go up to City Focus, which is just ahead of us.
Fantastic.
Come on. So we've just made it to the City Focus and it took us roughly just under a minute to get here. But Karen, we are going to be crossing here as a part of the green strip, aren't we? So how is it going to look? Is there going to be a strip of green carpet along here? Can you explain to us how that would work?
The Green Corridor really is just the describer of it. It's not literally going to be a green area, although we will be putting in some pocket parks. Now, where they go, we'll need to wait till we see the detailed plans, but essentially a pocket park is a green area that may well have some shade, whether that's by a tree or an umbrella. But again, it's an area people can stop, they can have their lunch, they can sit, they can read a book. They can do all those sorts of things. So that's one of the aspects that we're going to be highlighting on our green corridor.
Actually, it's quite fitting, so I'd like to point out, even though we are in the middle of town, when you look around us, we've got trees all the way down there, shrubbery behind us, flowers in the background, so it kind of feels like a bit green already down here.
Well, it does, and we're incredibly blessed here with very wide streets in Rotorua, and one of the reasons they're so wide is that there were some very large trees previously on these streets. There's still some very large trees in Amahia Street. So that will give you an idea of the size of trees that used to be here, and that's given us an enormous amount of space to play with.
Okay, Karen, so where to from here? We're at City Focus. Where do we go from here?
Well, generally we can wend our way across the focus, and the focus is going to change. That's been one of those discussion points for people. It is quite a polarising conversation, and we're hoping to have some small changes so that people get the idea of using it more effectively. So one of the things we plan to do is to allow some north-south traffic flow. Part of the wider changes for the city, which also affect the green corridor, the potential, it's been suggested, of turning the give-way signs so that Tutanekai Street becomes the flow, and all the cross streets then give way to that main street, which will in fact slow the traffic down significantly.
Nice, all right. Well, let's continue on our journey just a little bit longer.
Great.
So we've just crossed city centre to Tutanekai Street, and looking down here, Karen, I can see why this piece of road would make a great green corridor. Can you explain to the viewers at home why this road is chosen?
I can, and if you can see, we actually have 7 metres of pavement here. Glancing down there, you can see some square planter boxes with beautiful trees in them, and that bit past the awning will be where the green corridor goes. So we will still have 4 metres for pedestrians to walk.
Now, you did say that the reason why we've got such wide walkways is because we had big trees in the city, but really that's lavish, isn't it?
Exactly. You could put Wellington City inside our CBD quite comfortably. We have an abundance of space. Now, it makes us look emptier than we really are. So part of the green corridor will be pedestrians will have 4 metres to walk, and anyone on wheels, little children on their scooters, as well as the rollerbladers who've been asking for it, and the mobility scooters, and the cyclists.
Lovely. Now, Karen, we won't do the whole walk because it may take all day, but where do we go to from here?
We go down to the corner of Pukawatua Street, and then we cross over. And the reason we cross over is because if you can look down, you can see the cars are actually parked up to the 4 metre pavement on the next block. So we will cross over to the other side of the street until we get to Hope Upper Street, and then we will turn left and go down Hope Upper Street.
Lovely, all the way down to the...
All the way down to Kurau Park. So we need to do work at the Ranulph Street link with Hope Upper Street and Kurau Park. And the first part of the cycleway that's going to be built, which will be before the end of March, is going to be the Kurau Park from Hope Upper Street over to Lake Road. And that's been originally planned for quite a rough cast, but on further thought, we actually want mums and dads and their children to use it, so it's going to be a smooth surface because we want to make that as user-friendly as possible.
Thank you so very much for your time and your tour.
You're very welcome, Mel. Thank you.
That was Rotorua Lakes District Councillor Karen Hunt. You can catch up with City News via our website or by going to YouTube and searching City News Rotorua. We hope you've enjoyed your long weekend. Thanks for joining us tonight. Pumaria.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.
City News on TV Rotorua was proudly brought to you by Rotorua Central.